Hello, everyone, and today we're going to be taking a look at the winners and losers of the extended playoffs in ABA. So this is going to be a fairly quick video, but there's a few teams, in my opinion, that really benefit their long-term outlook by us increasing the playoffs. So first thing I want to take a look at is the two conferences. So as each conference has 20 teams, now 10 will make the playoffs, with the top two getting first round buys, but there'll be like a wild card thing. You guys will see the whole breakdown. But long story short, East is where everything is crazy. Because in the East, we had a weird scenario where realistically, in terms of contention, there is a top, let's say, 7 teams that are by far the best in the East. And I'd say realistically, so I'm saying New Jersey, Detroit, Miami, Chicago, Kentucky, Cincinnati, and Milwaukee. They are great. They're not winners by this. They are probably losers because they're going to have more playoff competition. Big winner, in my opinion, looking at this right now, Cleveland. Cleveland is a huge winner. The reason is they've struggled to consistently make the playoffs, and they boost their team rating. And to get George Moss co-stars, they really needed to make the playoffs here, and they're a big winner. Another big winner is Washington. In all honesty, somehow they have fallen off hard. I mean, if you look at Washington's team, this is a good roster. Um, Josh Wade is a top tier player, one of the best in the league, an MVP candidate year in, year out. They didn't surround him with a great cast. They're going to have a chance to make the playoffs here with a sweet $40 million in cap room and another 2 years of Wade. It's going to be interesting to see if they make any moves. Now, we also are looking at the expanded playoffs in the West. Another team in the East, real quick, before we transition, is Tampa Bay. They're an expansion team led by Tom Bogan. And I do think there's a legitimate outside shot that this team makes the playoffs. And if they do, they could be a little surprising. I mean, this is a solid team. This would be in a pre-expansion era, an eighth or ninth seed. The very similar setup to Denver just a couple years ago. I mean, they're a very deep team. They have a lot of potential. They have guys with low mileage that are older in years. So I want to see how that works out. Gary Sims, A.R. McGee, and Andreas Gravanis, and even Bill All Night all have very little tread for guys at their age and have a lot of future, in my opinion. In addition, you gotta like play of Foster this season. Foster's arguably taken a step back the last few years. He's been a key part of them. I mean, you look at his career thus far. Um, Even last year in Denver, he looked burnt. He's just playing with a much more well-rounded team approach. Granted, he is struggling from an efficiency standpoint, and this will probably be his last meaningful season before that contract quickly turns into an ugly deal. But we'll see there. So now we go take a look at the standings. Take a look at the West and the winners in the West. I mean, West is stacked. Realistically, Dallas, Denver, Hawaii, Houston, Toronto, Anaheim, Vegas, and Utah. Shocked Toronto's in the West, but I forgot they're in the Canadian division. That's on me. Questionable decision by commission management, I guess. Regardless, they're a great team, a great division, or Canadian division is stacked. But realistically, they have 8 top teams, all clear playoff teams. It's interesting how Toronto is doing very well in the West. I want to see if they can make some noise. I think the East very much is going to be between 4 teams, in my opinion: Miami, Detroit, New Jersey, and Kentucky. But Cincinnati and Milwaukee are like my sleepers. I don't really think Chicago's going to go deep. In the West, meanwhile, I think any team could get it. Any of these big teams. I think the big winners here are the fact that Mexico and Vancouver, frankly, they're the clear-cut winners, in my opinion. I don't know if either we're going to make the playoffs. Here in what is really an intermission rebuilding season, you have a great all-around progressions, a fairly young team. They get to retool for a season or two. And I know that they're waiting for it, but realistically, Banks is going to take less money once his contract gets up. He's a high PER player. He's been with the team for a while. Once they ride out his contract, they should be able to sign him long term on a fairly cheap deal. And they could just be a really solid franchise. So we'll see how they turn that around, as they are capped out here, but fairly young off the bench. A lot of potential. So I'd say Vancouver is a big winner there. And now I do want to take a look real quick at the winners of this year's draft. So Pittsburgh, I don't think they actually have their pick this year. Rajon Hitler putting up some crazy good stats though. Um, but I would say Carolina and Anderson Duffy both likely to get high picks. I'd also say Flint's likely to get a high pick, along with Edmonton, which is switching to a clear tanking approach as they're moving on from most of their veterans. And New Orleans has been a very interesting scenario in which Doug Dewberry is really failing to be a star, but Matt Bonner has really broken out into a two-way, really solid player for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how GM Josh handles this team going forward. Um, Overall, the league's going pretty well with the 40-team approach. I think that there's a lot of people that are very involved. You'll see here, um, the MVP candidate is a member of Houston. Owen's obviously the clear-cut number one, but we also have two Caps contending for MVP. Rookie of the Year is a pretty interesting race, as it's not even close. It's never been this far a blowout have I ever seen. But Dr. J took a real step up. I mean, he's going to be the superstar for Boston. I think if you're a Boston fan, which of course I am, I GM the team for a few seasons, won them a few rings. You got to be happy with what's going on. I mean, you look at Boston's team. Realistically, they have Castori signed long term. Dr. J, that is a top two stars, both under the age of 27. And Chris Bosch, who has another year fairly cheap under his belt. We'll see how he develops. And they might be able to move Curtis for some value. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on there. Do you also real quick want to take a look at the cap, and we'll just talk the draft as well. So start with the draft, and we'll move to the caps. This is a pretty stacked draft. The top like I think 7 or 8. Say yeah, I'd say the top 7 uh, are better than any other top 7 we've ever had. Um, this is a great draft. It's actually made up of 4 players I had auto-generated in either 2K or whatever, so interesting to see how that goes. In addition, you'll notice that we're doing the quote-unquote bust theme this year. Tommy Brown, Greg Oden, Michael Olowokandi, the Candyman, and you can go through the rest. See, there's uh, Adam, Adam Morrison, or Adam Morrison. It's going to be interesting. Um, Aaron Shotput Sampson, interesting player to pick up here. It's going to be really cool to see how teams develop around these guys. Anyway, now we're going to take a look at caps, and we're just going to kind of see, what caps are doing good and what caps are up and coming. So we'll start sorting by potential here. Big caps: Zion JJS, Jay Kumar. These guys are all probably future stars. Current stars would be Max Powers, Marcus Trustis, Ty Jackson, Byron Powers, Ty Penetrator, and Diedrich Wolfenbarger. Borderline stars are where you have Julius King, who took a disappointing step back, but is the clear leader of his team. Draft prospect, actually, Axel Basil also took a big step back, but he does have a lot of long-term potential here. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how a guy like Billy Bogues long-term develops. I mean, he was looking like an MVP candidate in Montreal, took a big step back there. Nico Scarn had a great season last year and is having an even better one this year. He's become a real force. I mean, look at this Hawaii team. This Hawaii team might be one of my favorite because, yeah, their least performing starter is Zion JJS. Michael Scarn and Ty Penetrato are legitimate overperformers and caps. It's really exciting. They have a shutdown defender at shooting guard in Slamtown Robinson. Um, this team has a lot of potential. I'm very excited. G-Man's done an excellent job with this team. Check out his server. Very excited here. He's also doing a great job over in DBL. And then the last thing I want to take a look at is power rankings. You'll see in power rankings real quick. Right now, Townsend at the bottom, Pittsburgh. We're going to check out Pittsburgh, and I just want to talk about a couple things here. Not only did Pittsburgh get riddled with injuries, but most importantly, they have John Hitler with 19.8, 5.4, and 5 assists. What's worth noting, his stats look great on the surface. Look at that sweet, sweet 7 turnovers a game. That is unheard of. He is a tank commander. Kong Rollerson also putting up stats. He's by far the best player on this franchise. Long term, he's going to be a really big part of their development. We'll see. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys here. And best of luck to these teams. You'll see the playoff bracket I'll put up here, so you can see how it's going to go. And yeah, that's it.